So, we're continuing where we left off. Lesson 24, paragraph number 8. But as we're very close to Rosh Hashanah, and there is a message in Rosh Hashanah that's directly related to what we're learning right now, and we'll try to express it as clear as possible, and then we'll continue with where we left off, Bezrat Hashem. So Rosh Hashanah is the day when it's both Rosh Chodesh and Rosh Hashanah. So it's the beginning of the lunar cycle and the solar cycle, okay? Solar cycle is solid, 365 days, it never changes, okay? There's some exceptions, but normally it's 365 days and it's solid. And the first day of Tishrei is for us the beginning of the yearly cycle. 365 days so the sun gets back to the same place after 1 year of circling, okay? And we do the leap year to make the moon, the month of the moon, match Rosh Hashanah. So that also, first day of Tishrei is the beginning of the month for the lunar cycle of the month, where the sun, the moon, it starts off small, waxing, and then it grows to the 15th, and then it shrinks again to nothing, almost nothing, right? So the timing, the Chachamim with the Soda Ibur, the secret of intercalation, making the leap year, make it that it works out perfectly, Baruch Hashem, on the same day, okay? So now, Rav Nosson explains in Nefilat Apayim Dalet that the idea of the moon being solid, 365, no changes, boom. And the moon, sometimes like this, sometimes like that, it's like waiting, is the idea of yediyah and lack of yediyah, which means emunah. Yediyah is clear, solid perspective, clear knowledge, clarity and understanding. That's the sun. Just like the sun is shining and it's clear, and also the cycle of the sun is clear, that's the idea of the part of life where you have yediyah. But as we know, and we're going to come up to it also, we didn't really get into yet, there's this famous quotation Rabbi Nachman Rabbeinu's quoting from a very old book called Bechinat Olam. Some pronounce it Bechinot Olam, Bechinat Olam. It's a very old book, and it's the source of this quote of Tachlit HaYediyah Shelo Neda. The goal of knowing is to know that you don't know. In other words, the reason why we learn Torah is to make us aware that you don't know, as opposed to by the Goyim, by university and study. The more you learn, the more you're pumped up. It's like, you're pumping the mattress when you go camping, and it starts blowing up. So too, worldly wisdom, it pumps you up. I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I passed the bar, I got my MD. Worldly wisdom, when you learn to become an electrician and craftsman, so it builds you up. Torah is exact opposite. The biggest chachamim are the biggest people to tell us that they don't know what in the world is flying. The more they learn, those who are really learning Torah Lishma, the more they realize there's so much out there, I didn't begin to chip. Okay, you ask halacha questions, we have to have clarity, fine. But the depth behind the Torah, the more I learn, the more I see I don't know anything that's flying. And that's what Hashem wants. Hashem wants you to reach a level that you don't know. And what happens is your emunah is mitchazek. Tachlit Eidah Shelo Neda, okay? So the sun again is the part of the Torah where it's clear. And the moon that we join it together is the Lo Neda. Is that I don't know. I don't know what's happening. What's really out there, the goal of this knowing is that I don't know, okay? And we join them together. Rosh Hashanah is the one day of the year where they're joined together. They're mamash together. Meaning what? That it is a unison. So Rav Nosson says, but that's not easy. Not everyone works like that. You see in your daily schedule, you have times when you're sechel, and there are times when there's no sechel, the day was just messed up, and everything's just emunah. Okay, Hashem, I don't know what's happening, I don't know what's flying. The goal of the tzaddikim, the master of the tzaddikim, is at the same time that they have understanding, they're joining at the same time. I don't know. Together, it's bias. It's beyond grasp. We have times that we know, and there's other times when we don't know. I have times my day has ups and downs, and they're separate. There's the times when I know what's happening, and I have a grasp, and I feel good, and I feel confident, and I understand the Gemara, I understand the Halacha, I understand the Zohar, I have clarity in my life, clarity in my davening, great. And there's times I don't know what's happening. So there's different times. By the tzaddikim, it's 2 in 1. It's crazy. It's impossible. How do you figure that out? How do you have yediyah and no yediyah, which means emunah at the same time? Ribono shel olam. That's the tzaddikim. So Rav Nosson explains, this is why it's so important to travel to be by tzaddikim for Rosh Hashanah. True tzaddikim. True tzaddikim meaning they've mastered totally joining the sun and the moon together. They join the yediyah, the knowing, and the not knowing together at the same time. I can't do it. I know I can't do it. I know I see myself. I see that there's like 1 in 100 I have that high, and then 99 parts of the 100 I'm like out of it. I don't have that mastery that I'm able to do, to know, and not know at the same time. I don't have that joining. It's like totally out. So because of that, there's the concept of traveling to be by tzaddikim for Rosh Hashanah. Okay? Is it you know you don't do it, so you go to be by these people who do know how to do it, and it brushes off on you. Then my nafkamina for the whole year. The whole year when I have these challenges of knowing and not knowing, so I started off at the beginning of the year on the right footing, so B'ezrat Hashem, because of that, things can go smoothly. That's why it's so big, okay? So this fits into what he says in this lesson, that the goal of the sechel is to put emunah together with it. The sechel and the emunah, and this, like we're going to see now, brings to the Keter B'ezrat Hashem, which opens up the doorway for the Or Ein Sof, and the Or Ein Sof is what, on a practical level, gives clarity to a person. Clarity in life is what I need. I'm lacking clarity, right? Like you don't know what's happening. You don't know what to do. A person has chas shalom terminal cancer, let's say, and the elder doctors say you have 1 week to live, and the guy says, Hashem, this is what you really want? Is this the goal? If there's what to do, Hashem, give me clarity. So such a person needs Or Ein Sof to shine him, or that you're a korban. It's like if you remember the famous. It's one of the keynote of Tisha B'Av, and it's also from the Midrash, that when the Asara Harugi Malchut were told by the king that he wants to kill them instead of to be Michaper on the 10 brothers who sold Yosef, so they add the tzaddikim, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Chutzpita Meturgeman, right, Rabbi Chanina ben Tradion, Yehuda ben Bava, they came to Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol to do his Kabbalistic kavanot, to go up and see in heaven if this is the real reality. So he went up, and they told him, you guys have to take the Gzera, because you guys are the Gilgul of the 10 brothers, and this will be Mechaper. And the to'elet, the benefit that will come out of this, will be forever, for generations to come. Every morning, when you say in Hodu, El Nikamot Hashem, El Nikamot Hofiyah, so the Arizal says it activates the merit of the 10 martyrs to fix the pigam of the brothers who blemished by selling Yosef Atzadik, which is such a severe blemish that we're still paying for it till today. That there's Mechirat Yosef, because he was Yosef Atzadik. Just to show you how far-reaching the concept of the Tzadik is. It's not a joke. You know, they say that the Gzerot of Gunta, what happened in 1768 in the Ukraine, and then the Uman, what happened in Uman, the big massacre, was a punishment for the machloket against the Baal Shem Tov. Okay? And to go back earlier, they say the Tachvetat, Khmelnytsky massacres, was because of the machloket against the Arizal. That not everybody accepted the Arizal as being valid. It took 100 years for Jewry, especially the Ashkenazi Jewry, it took them 100 years to accept the Arizal, that this is solid and this is true. Not everybody accepted. Well this, well that. When Tachvetat happened, the pogrom was so bad, Pshat was no longer enough. People needed the Kabbalah to give a nechama to accept and to have emunah to go on in life. So it took that. They say so. The Tachvetat was for that. Gunta, the pogrom in Uman with Gunta was for the Baal Shem Tov, and they say the Cantonist decrees, and what we're going till today is for the machloket. That's again Rabbi Nachman. Unbelievable. Okay. So it's big time. It's not a joke about having pogem in respecting and honor of a tzaddik. It's really severe. So every day in davening, when you say El Nekamot Hashem have nekama, revenge. Okay, Hofiyah. So we activate the merit of these 10 martyrs. So Yishmael Kohen Gadol went up and it was clear, we have to accept upon us. So he came back and he told the other 9 tzaddikim, we have to do this. Okay, and they accepted it. So that's how it is in life. If it's bad or good, when you have clarity, if it's like 100% clear that this is the right thing to do, it doesn't hurt anymore. When you know the right thing, for example, I'm taking a type of a mixture with a lot of magnesium, whatever, and it's bitter, it's disgusting. I can't swallow it. And the guy who gave it to me, he says, I drink it like that. So I said to him, how do you drink it like that? It's impossible to drink. He says, because I know what it's from, and I know what it does for me, so it's not bitter, it's all in here. It's unbelievable. He said, it's on the head. I drink it now, it doesn't bother me. Me, it's like, I don't know what it is. He made it. I don't know what it is. So when you know something, when you have clarity of something, it hurts less. That's how it is in life. The more you have clarity, it's like, for example, those kids who are scared to go to a dentist or a doctor, and they go, oh my God. So what does the doctor do? The good doctors, he explains step by step, we're going to do this. Look, it doesn't hurt. Like they go to the dentist. Look, does this hurt? No, it doesn't hurt. No. So when he convinces that it's okay, it's all right, so it hurts less. It's less painful. Right? So this is the idea of Or Ein Sof. All right, so this is the idea of the Or that we want to get to. This is the Or Ein Sof. And all this starts with doing mitzvot b'simcha, which is, by the way, another thing. Rabbeinu said, whoever's by me for Rosh Hashanah, where you're joining the moon and the sun by the right address, by the tzaddikim, ra'ui lo lismoach kol hashana. You have every right to be happy. It works backwards. In other words, if you made it to be by a tzaddik, that's a sign retroactively that you have simcha. Because if you didn't have simcha, you wouldn't. That's an amazing thing. People don't know this. If you didn't have simcha, you wouldn't be able to make it to the tzaddik. The fact that I made it to tzaddik shows me retroactively that I have simcha. You hear that? People who are sad and depressed, they don't make it to Uman. You hear me? This is a big, big message. Someone who has inside a good Ratzon, a good desire of happiness, he makes it, and that's the sign retroactively that he's a sameach person. B'ezrat Hashem. All right. Baruch haba. Wow. Shechianu. So we're going to continue with where we left off. Let's just go over what we did in the past classes, and I hope I don't get stuck, because always we go over, new ideas come up, and we get stuck. But let's see if we can continue B'ezrat Hashem, okay? So we're here, lesson 24, paragraph number 8. Good to see you. Okay, so he says like this again. This is now after a person activates the Keter, which is done by doing the mitzvot b'simcha. Simple. Rav Nosson, he says it again. You don't have to think about all these things. It happens automatically. If you work on simcha, you work on trying to doing the mitzvot b'simcha, these things happen automatically. The bracha of the sechel, the emunah, the joining, the netzach hod yesod, and the chesed gvur tiferet, and the chabad, all these things, they happen by themselves. Okay, I have to just tell a story I just read this morning. I'm sorry, it's just unbelievable. In the time of in 1919, it was very bad in Ukraine. It was very bad because in 1917, the Russians killed the king Nicholas II. So there was like hefkerut in Russia, and there were a lot of pogroms by the soldiers and by groups who were communists and groups who were anti-communists, and all the pogroms were against the Jews. It was really, really bad. So Rav Avram Sternhartz, Avram Kochavlev, he was a Breslover. He lived in Cherin, and in Cherin, the Jewish community were so scared of the pogroms, they set up a defense league. They had guns, and every day someone else would have to go out and patrol if there's any bandits and all these groups hiding to try to do that, hurt the Jews. So the day that Avram Sternhartz, it was his turn, even though he was the Rav, he was a big Rav. Rav Avram Sternhartz, before this happened, he went to Lublin, and he got a approval from 200 Rabbanim. That's how big he was. 200 halachic Rabbanim of his geonut. He got tested by 200 Rabbanim. I guess they're all together, and they proved that he could be the next Rav. So when this famous Rav Eliyahu Kletskin, he was the chief rabbi of Lublin, when he came to Eretz Yisrael, and they wanted a replacement, the first person that came to mind is Rav Sternhartz. So the Breslovers in the Ukraine and in the city Cherin, they said, if you can't leave us, we need you. So he refused the offer. He was given the offer to be a Rav in Lublin. Who knows what would have happened if he would have been in Lublin and the Holocaust? Who knows if he would have survived? He was where he was. He got a visa in the 1930s to go to Eretz Yisrael, and he came here, Baruch Hashem. Okay? And even when he came here, the Badats thought of taking him in because they heard such big things about him. But when they saw that there was machloket in Breslov, him, so they said, we can't have a Rav who the Breslovers, they looked down upon themselves. So he wasn't accepted as a Rav in the Badats. But the story is that the day that he was supposed to do patrol in 1919, and against these, they're called bandits. That was the Yiddish term for these terrible goyim, these Kosakim and communists, whatever. So his son-in-law, he said, let me go instead tonight. You should learn, I'll take your place. His son-in-law went and he was murdered. The son-in-law was murdered. So it shook everybody. They got so shook, the family. They said, we can't stay in Cherin because it's a small village and we need a bigger city to protect us. So they moved to Kremenchug, which was a bigger city. Okay? So in Kremenchug, there were many Jews there because it's a bigger city. So there's more, if someone wants to do something bad, they're a bit more embarrassed because there's more people watching, and there's more eyewitnesses, there's more testimony. Cherin was like a small village, a hick town. So it's easier for the goyim, these guys to do pogroms. But the bigger cities, it's harder to do at the time pogroms. So in Kremenchug, there were a group of Chabad Hasidim, and there was no one there at the level to give a shir in Tanya. So they asked Rav Sternartz, can you give us a shir in Tanya? And he said, sure, why not? So he gave a shir of Tanya, and he was explaining the Tanya using the Likutey Moharan and the Likutey Halachot. And they said, the Chabad Hasidim, we said, we never experienced such an unbelievable shir in Tanya. He didn't tell them why. He didn't tell them that he was using the Likutey Moharan and the Likutey Halachot to explain the Tanya, but they were so amazed. He was talking about getting up at Chatzot, because he brings down these ideas. The Tanya talks about it, but the people say, yeah, but it doesn't apply to us today, to get up at Chatzot and everything. But he mentions it, and he developed it, the idea of doing Hitbodedut. They talk about in Chabad, Hitbonenut. So he joined Hitbonenut, which means, deep contemplation. With Hitbodedut, you have to verbalize it in talking to Hashem and everything. And they were so touched, they said, we never had a shir like that. I just have to mention that on the side, it's something so powerful, okay? Fine. So let's go on now. Rabbeinu now is telling us the workings of what happens when you do the mitzvot b'simcha. The goal is that you hit the Keter, which we won't go into because it was the paragraph number 7. But what the Keter is called by Rabbeinu, he calls it meyashev and mesader. Meyashev and mesader are two qualities which are really one. It's settling the mind and organizing the mind. And the goal of simcha, believe it or not, is to come to this level of yeshuvadat. That's the goal. Okay? He says, Rabbi Nachman, another lesson in the Likutey Moharan, that when you are besimcha, you can have yeshuvadat. And vice versa. If you work on yeshuvadat, you can come to being happy in life. But they both work together. The goal of simcha, it gives you clarity. On a pshat level, you see when you're in a happy mood, you understand better what you're learning. When you're in a grouchy, groggy, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, you less understand. You learn the Gemara, say, okay, let's just go through it already, okay. Like you're not into it, you don't understand it, because it's hard, because you're having a bad day, whatever. Okay? So they work hand in hand. So he says, when you make and rectify the settling of the mind and the organizing of the mind, shehu keter, which is the keter, karaui, properly, in other words, that it's done fixed properly, which is how? Which is by doing the mitzvah b'simcha. V'hamochin rotfin la'asigar ein sof. And what's happening when you do the keter properly because you're b'simcha, so automatically your mind is running. It's running forward to perceive the infinite light, the light of the infinite, the light of Hashem, which in a practical term means you're looking for clarity and you're running after it, okay? On the highest levels, this is the levels of the tzaddikim also, that they're mamash at the level to perceive the infinite light. And what happens, like we said over and over again, v'aketer, but the way for this, the process is, v'aketer me'akev et ha'sechel, and the keter stops the sechel. It prevents it from going forward. The mochin, by the way, pay attention, there's a change in the wording. He said mochin, and then he says sechel, and then coming up, he's going to say something else. I want to see where the wording is. You see, look, ha-mochin, you just started with mochin, which means like the mind, and then you switch to intellect. And then he goes, there's a third term, I'm trying to remember where it is. I saw it somewhere. Okay, it'll pop up again. But Rabbeinu's changing the wording. You start off with saying mochin. What's normally mochin? Mochin is the literal translation of the actual mass of brain. The brain mass is mochin. In Kabbalah, mochin means intellect. But even that's not a good translation. It's not a good translation to say the mochin the gadlut, mochin the katnut as an intellect, because moach is still a moach. Moach is what fills up the scalp. It's the actual brain. But yet it's the seat, it's the kli of what's inside the intellect. And here he's saying that when the keter is done, even the mochin is probably the lowest term of the brain, the lowest term of the chokhmah, bina, da'at, the keter, all these terms. The lowest term is the mochin. And he's saying here that when a person fixes the keter karaui by doing mitzvot b'simcha, even the lowest part of the brain is running, is advancing. Hamochin, the intellect, which is considered what's inside the brain mass. You see, the sechel is like another vessel. You have the mochin, the actual physical mass, and you have the sechel, which is in it. And in the sechel, you have chokhmah, bina, da'at. It's in sechel. Okay? Sechel is the shekol, the word shekol, that everything's inside of it. I heard that once. Sechel is like shekol, that everything's inside that point. 1 second, what was that beep there? Okay, everything's okay, good. No, not everything's good. It stopped the recording. Sorry, 1 second. It's not recording. It's not recording. I don't believe it. Okay, I gotta do something about this. I have to fix this. Okay, fine. The keter ma'akevet ha-sechel, and the keter is stopping the sechel. Kedei, and why is it stopping the sechel? Kedei leyashev et ha-sechel. The reason why the keter stops it, he says, in order to settle the sechel. Question we have, why didn't you say like you did in the beginning? Me'ashev mesader. So right here also, kedei leyashev ulesader et ha-sechel. Okay, good question. Why does it say only leyashev? That's like that's a question on the side. And now through the running and the prevention, the running of the mochin to perceive, and the ma'akev, the blocking of the keter, preventing the person from going forward, the mind from going forward. Azai makeh hamochin b'me'ashev mesader. So then the mind bumps into the keter, which is settling the mind. It's called me'ashev mesader. V'na'asin hechalin le'or ein sof, and this creates chambers for the infinite light. Like we said over and over again, that this is how you grow. The way to grow in life is you have to have a setback. If you don't have a setback, you're never going to grow. Life is not just going from level to level to level to level. You need the pushback. The pushback is what builds vessels to perceive the infinite light. Because how you take the setback, how you take it properly, with a positive attitude, with simcha, and like we're going to go into very soon in the next section, that you tap into what's called orot ha-tzachtzachot. Orot ha-tzachtzachot is another term in the Kabbalah for these 9 chambers. And the word tzachtzachot basically means that a person reaches the highest of levels by yearning, by desire. When does a person desire in life? When he's prevented from the thing. The famous lesson 66. Rabbeinu says there's the cheshek, choshek, and nechshak. There's the yearning, the item being yearned, and the person who's yearning. If the nechshak is way up here, something very big, and the person doesn't have it, the person's cheshek is all the way down here. Okay? So what they do is they make obstacles for the person to get to this. They don't make it easy because he doesn't deserve it. His cheshek doesn't match the nechshak. It's all the way down here. So what do they do from heaven? They give him obstacles. So the obstacles, or he says, it's not for me. Or he says, Hashem, I know this is good. I need this. I know I don't want enough. And by you giving me these obstacles, I'm just telling you, Hashem, I just want to be a good Jew. All I want is this. All I want to be in Uman Rosh Hashanah. All I want is this. I just want good things. I don't want any bad. I don't have any ulterior motives. Hashem, I want to be a good Jew. So the yearning builds up the cheshek. And when do the obstacles stop? When the cheshek matches the nechshak, at least for this person, it could be a nechshak which has millions of levels. But for this person right now, it's over here. And he's down here. So for him, it has to be built up. And once the cheshek matches the cheshek of the choshek matches the nechshak, then boom. Okay? So this comes out when a person is bounced back. When you're bounced back, and like what happens? The thing is taken away from you. You can't do it. Like you want, for example, you wake up in the morning, you want to have your seder. You come to the base midrash expecting to have a normal seder, and then this phone call, and this guy drives me nuts for 1 hour. Oh, how was your trip? And this, and you want to learn, and he's bothering you, and this, and then you feel like at the end of the day, I didn't open the Gemara maybe one line, and I had to leave early, and this, and you feel very bad about yourself. I didn't get to meet my daily study regimen, okay? Or I had a plan to do X, Y, Z in Avodat Hashem. It was all taken away from you, right? So what happens is, or you say you're down, you're despondent, Hashem doesn't want me, Hashem doesn't like me, and look at this, and you give an excuse, more a heter, to fall into taivus, to do more bad. Or, even if you do fall into bad, at any point, you can say, but Hashem, I just want to be a good Jew. And you can even cry, begin to cry. Say, I just want, all this I'm doing is for you, because I want to come close to you, that's all. By expressing the cheshek, the Ratzon, he says this is how you tap in to the 9 chambers. That's what happens when the Betisha, the reason why they're smashing you back is because you're going full force of confidence. There's or, there's light, I'm going forward. But they say, hey, that's not how you get to it. The way to get to it is you have to thirst for it. So the word tzachtzachot is taken from a pasuk in Yeshayahu. The Rabbeinu is going to quote the pasuk in chapter 58, verse 12. V'hisbiya betzachtzachot nafshecha. The pshat is that Hashem will satiate betzachtzachot, someone who's parched dry, your soul. Hashem will satiate the parched soul, the parched soul. What does it mean to be tzacha? It means someone who's dry and he's yearning for water. I'm thirsty, I'm dry. So the idea of tzimaon is the idea of retzonot kisufim, like we say in Tikkun HaKlali, chapter 42 Tehillim, tzama nafshi lelokim. What does it mean tzama? Tzama lecha nafshi, kama lecha besari. Tzimaon is an expression of yearning. Hashem, I want to be a good Jew, I want to come back to you, right? By the way, one of the most amazing ways to tap into your Ratzon is to look where you are now, and then look back 10, 20, whatever years ago when you started, when you were sincere and honest in trying to start your life serving Hashem, and you see where you were then and where you are now, and you feel so broken from where you were, where you initially started, and your ambitions and your anticipation, and then what happened in life, boom, 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 and you see where you are now, automatically this opens up. Where am I now? Look where I was. I was so honest and sincere and pure, and look where I am holding now. This way of comparing where you were and now is an amazing way to express Ratzon. Not to break you, Chas V'Shalom, not to now fall in depression, but to allow the Ratzonot to come out. And when the Ratzonot to come out, this is the, or you tap in to these or tzachtzachot. So he says, Rabbeinu, for this to happen, for this to happen, the person gets pushed back. That's the bit. That's the haka'ah. Like what he says here. What's the wording we just read? Okay. Azay makeh hamochin. It's a makkah. You get smacked. He says when you're running a keter ma'akev et hasechel. In order to yashav et hasechel, v'alidei redifa v'ma'akev. And through this procedure, this process of running and then ma'akev. So what happens? Boom! It's like a car going into a wall. Boom! But it's a rubber wall. So you bounce back. The car doesn't get smashed. It bounces into a wall that's rubber. So it's like in the cartoons, you remember? And then boom, it goes back. Okay, so it's makeh, but it's a makkah. Makkah means I'm being hit. What Hashem? You're hitting me? Like that's the lichora normal attitude of a person who's trying to do good. He feels like Hashem gave him a patch. You know, what is this? Makeh. Azay makeh mochim. Okay? And this makkah is what makes the hechalin leor ein sof. That's what makes the vessels to receive within them the infinite light. This is the secret of growth. The Zohar says, de la adlak. I don't remember the lashon of the Zohar. A log wood that doesn't burn well. You're trying to make a log wood to burn. A log wood that doesn't burn well, mevateshinoto. You cut it into smaller pieces. If you have a big piece of log wood, you try to light it, it doesn't burn. So how do you get it to light? You have to cut it into smaller pieces so the fire has where to be tofes, to grab onto the wood, and then it burns. So the Zohar says, so too, the person's body is very stiff and absorbed in all the ta'avot. So in order and that such a body can't receive the light of the neshama, so they cut the body, you get smacked. The smacking is not punishment, it's to induce submission Because only when you have submission can you then express good, sincere yearning and desire. Just 1 second, what does it say here? And Arikh Anpin while recording. Thank you. That's all I need to know. Okay? So, this is not good. I have to fix the computer. Okay. So now you make chambers. So you think, when you hear this, oh, so I make something that's tangible. It's something which is palpable, something that I can grasp. Because he says, "V'na'asin hechalin." What's a hechal? A hechal is a chamber. It's a room that I can understand for the infinite light. That now we created like a vessel that within it I can receive the infinite light. But Rabbeinu says, nonetheless, ve'afal pichem, nonetheless, la yediah ve'la ityeda. Nonetheless, you have no conception at all whatsoever of these chambers for the infinite light. La yediah, they are not known. Ve'la ityeda, and they don't make themselves known. You have no grasp of them whatsoever. They're so high, they're so far, I don't see anything. That's what makes this so difficult. Because you're being tested in life, you're going forward, you have simcha, you have itchazkut, you go forward, and then you get smashed, and you don't see anything. You say, what am I expecting? What am I supposed to see? People, they normally, when they enter breslov, when they enter Avodat Hashem, and they get smacked, they get like minias, obstacles and everything, and they're asked, so what's next? Like they think it's like systematic. It's like, like in university, like a course. Okay, A, B, C, D. Okay, what's next? Here he's saying you don't see anything. So I don't see anything. What am I supposed to do? And what do you want from me? And how am I supposed to know where I'm holding? He said, that's the whole trick. You don't know. So what am I supposed to do? This is your test. What do you do when you don't see what's happening? What do you do? Let's see now. From Shemaim, they say, okay, we push you back. You don't see anything. What do you do now? Do you crash all the way? You say, if I fall in, so I might as well just go all the way down? Or do you use the simcha that got you to here, pushing you this forward, to guide you to do the right thing? Rav Nosson Likutey Halachot, in Hilchot Ishut, Halacha Dalet, on this lesson, he explains what you do. He compares this to the verse from Parshat Vayera, the opening verse in Parshat Vayera, after Avraham Avinu did the Brit Milah at the end of Chayei Sarah. So, the opening verse there, open two verses, it says there, V'hu yoshev petach ha'ohel kechom hayom. Avraham Avinu was just after the Brit Milah, and he's sitting at the entrance of the tent in the heat of the day. Rashi, long Rashi, why is he sitting at the entrance of the tent? He's waiting for guests. Okay? Kechom hayom, why the heat of the day? Hashem didn't want to be matriach Avraham Avinu because he was suffering from the Brit Milah. It was like the third day after Brit Milah, and he was changing the bandages and everything. He was mamash in pain. So Hashem didn't want guests to come, so he made the sun extra hot. Okay? That's the pshat. Rav Nosson goes a step further, and he says like this, that Avraham Avinu represents every Jew who's searching, who's looking to come close to Hashem. There's like Avraham Avinu searched, he left the idols of his father, and the suffering of Nimrod and everything. So to a Jew who's looking for Hashem, he's looking to advance. He does Lech Lecha, Parshat Lech Lecha, he leaves. Okay? I made a mistake, not Parshat Chayei Sarah, but Lech Lecha. Lech Lecha is where he did the Brit Milah, and then Zvayera. Chayei Sarah is the next Parsha. Right? So every Jew is compared, a Jew sincere and looking is like Avraham Avinu. Okay? And what's Petach HaOel? Why is he saying, Hu Yoshev? He's sitting. Rav Nosson says the word Hu Yoshev, and Avraham Avinu is sitting, he's waiting. Yeshiva, Rav Nosson proves from other psukim, is Milashon Akava, he's waiting. Why is he waiting? Because the door is closed. The petach, Hu Yoshev Petach HaOel, they won't let him in. He wants to go in, but the petach is closed. Okay? And then the verse says, Kechom hayom, in the heat of the day. Meaning what? He's waiting there, and he's being heated up by the taivas and etzara. If it's one thing that I have weaponry and I can handle, but here my weapons are inside. I want to go in order to be refueled and to be revitalized, and the door's closed in front of me. And in the meantime, Yetzirah is killing me, burning me with the taivas, especially Pkam Abrit. I'm being heated up like crazy. Okay? So Rav Nosson says this is the scenario of the pasuk. And it's exactly what's happening here. Avraham Avinu has mochin, he has simcha. That's why he became Avraham Avinu, because he has a simcha to come to Eretz Yisrael. He did Lech Lecha. He was a happy person, Avraham Avinu, to reach where he reached. And now he's facing this closing, which is like the Keter pushing him back. I want to go in. No. He said in paragraph 7 that Keter is also Hamtana. You remember? It's Hamtana, it's waiting, and it's also being pushed back. While you're waiting, you're getting hit. Makeh. You want to go forward, but you hit. The door is closed. So Rav Nosson says, so what do you do in the meantime? The Jew who's like Avraham Avinu, what he does in the meantime, and he didn't show how it's hinted to in the psukim, but it's that he's looking to be besimcha. He's trying to grab any mitzvah he's trying to do. It could be that Avraham Avinu was still trying to do the mitzvah of achnasat orchin on the pshat, even though Hashem put out the sun, and still Avraham Avinu instead of saying, okay, you know what, I'm exempt, I'm in pain from the Brit Milah, it's hot outside, no orchim. Avraham Avinu said, no, let me do what I can, let me try to do the mitzvah to the maximum. So because Hashem saw that he's pushing forward, he sent the angels as orchim. Why would Avraham Avinu not get the message? It's hot outside, you're in pain, you have every reason not to wait here. Go rest, go take care of yourself. He said, no, my whole vitality is doing mitzvot b'simcha. You take that away from me, I can't handle the Chom Hayom, and I can't handle the pain of the Brit Milah. I need vitality, which at the time, the one thing that gives vitality is the mitzvah of achnasat orchim. Proof is, when the angels came, Vayarotz. Who runs to do a mitzvah? Someone who's happy. When do you run to do a mitzvah? When do you run to get your plane to go to Uman? When do you run? You run because you're doing something good and it's bringing you excitement. So you run to do it. You don't walk slowly. You're trying to get the last bus to the Kotel or whatever. I don't know. Oh, and so even the old guy who's in a squeaky. You heard my joke. My joke is, why is the spray called WD-40 for? So it's called WD-40 because when you reach the age of 40, it becomes squeaky. So you need to start spraying. And because of that, they should also make WD-50 for age 50, WD-60, WD-70. Every 10 years, we get more squeakier. They should have a more powerful, more condensed WD-40. So even someone who needs WD-40, when he's besimcha, he starts running. He starts flying because that's the power of simcha. Yaakov Avinu, right? Libo nasa et raglav. When Yaakov was informed about B'ezrat Hashem, that Hashem is going to protect him when he goes to Chutz La'aretz to find the Shidduch. So Yaakov ran. The Rashi says he ran, and Yidbon Asar. How are we doing with time? We're okay? We can go on still? Right. Fine. B'ezrat Hashem. So that's how Rav Nosson explains. This is what you can do when you're stuck waiting at the door, is you have to find any way to be b'simcha. Okay? You be b'simcha. Of course, there's Ratzonot, but in the meantime, what happens when you have a good session of Yidbodedut, when you cry out to Hashem your pain of your Ratzon? So Rabbeinu says normally, 99% of the time, when you have a good session of Yidbodedut, you let out all the built up pain from the Ratzonot and Kisufim that you just want, and it comes out. So normally you have a major dose of Simcha. It's a consolation. It's a nechama. I got it off my heart. I was able to let out all the Ratzonot that were hidden inside my heart. I was able to express them and verbalize them, and they're able to come out now. So, and normally, when that happens, you have a big feeling of simcha. That's why he says, Rabbeinu says in Sichot Haran, that when you're able to do a good hitbodedut, afterwards you have simcha. You feel mamash sameach, because you feel like you got a burden, a load off your chest, a load off your back, and it's a spiritual load, a difficult load, and by letting it out in words of hitbodedut, it comes out, Baruch Hashem. So this all works together. Simcha doing mitzvah, and simcha and doing the mitzvah however you can. Like Avraham Avinu, even though he's in pain in this, he's trying to still do the mitzvah the maximum. So this is what you do when the doors are closed. The kitzur, okay? So now going back about these chambers, you have no idea what they are. You have no idea who they are. No idea what's happening. Okay? So the question is, so if I don't know, no idea what's happening, why should I even learn about this? If I have no idea what's happening, so why let me know? So it seems that the more you grow, the more you are aware of how much you don't know, the more you have simcha in life. Believe it or not. The more you have, I think this makes sense, right? The more you don't know, the more you have more emunah and simcha coming into your life. That's the way to shine simcha. You see, the happiest people in the world are those people who live very simple. And I don't know. They have a simple attitude in Avodat Hashem, and they're always, I don't know mode. These are the happiest people, B'ezrat Hashem. There was a Rav from Sokolov, Rav Mordechai Halberstadt from Sokolov. He was the Av Beidin of Sokolov, and he was a Breslover Chassid. And they say about him that when he would come to Uman for Rosh Hashanah, he would hug and kiss all the Breslovers. He was a Rav. He was an Av Beidin, a Dayan. He came, he saw simple Breslovers, he'd be hugging them, kissing them, jumping up and down like a kid. Oh, where are like in Yiddish. Was machst du Yid? So one Rav Levi Yitzchak Bender, when he saw this man, he looks chashuv and he's acting like a child, jumping up and down and smiling. He asked, "Who is that?" He said, "This is the chief Rav of Sokolov from Poland." He said, "What?" And he's like acting like a child. It's like Tartei Desatre. It's like the opposite. If you're a big Rav, so act like it. Act like, I'm serious and Tisha B'Av. I don't know. Act serious. He says, no, that's the beauty. Is that someone who's reached the maximum level and realizes how much he doesn't know. And it comes out in Tmimut and Pshitut, in simplicity and sincerity, and to the extent that there's only Kavod Hashem and Kavod Abriot, and me, I'm not here. It's not like I'm demanding of the Kavod. Nachon, the Torah requires me. But sometimes I have to push aside my kavod for the kavod of Hashem, and especially for the kavod of a fellow Jew, I have to put my kavod on the side. They say the same thing about David HaMelech, that he was able to get along with all the Jews, all the levels. Vusmachste Shmelki, how are you? Vusmachste Mendi. I don't know the names in David HaMelech's time, whatever. Avishai, Evyatar, how are you? Like he was very chevraman. Chevraman is a ma'ala. Why is it an advantage? Because when you're a chevraman, people can be more open with you. People can more confide in you. They feel comfortable. They feel open with you, as opposed to you come like as a judge, like Darth Vader. No one wants to talk. They're scared to talk to you. It's a big Rav, but when a Rav opens up to you and shows you that he loves you. I just saw recently now also that there were I can say the word, I guess. Listen, there were black boys. They were playing on the streets in Brooklyn. And there was a Rav who passed by them and every day would say, "How are you guys doing? What are you playing?" He had an interest in them. And they got scared. Like, since when does a Jewish person talk to us? We're like 2 different worlds apart. And then one day he saw them fighting. He said, "Don't hit your brother. Here. You'll be good. You promise one him. Here's $1." And he gave him another $1. It turns out later on, they found out who he was, Lubavitcher Rebbe. Lubavitcher Rebbe was showing his ability to even speak to little black children and relate to them, and they felt so good. They said that they reached the point where they're waiting for him to come by to say, "Oh, maybe he'll give us some more money," but even not, they were just happy to see someone talking to them, someone who even gave a hoot about them, and even cared about them. No one cared about them, but this old Jewish rabbi, he did care about them. That's unbelievable. So this is a big thing, okay? And this happens when you don't know what's happening. If you maintain la yediah ve'alayit yada, that the goal of Torah is not to know. And you have that always, so you never feel accomplishment. You feel always humble and happy, and anything that comes your way, you appreciate it. You say, "Thank you, Hashem." There's more out there. I on one hand, I'm appreciative of what I'm fulfilling, the fulfillment that's coming my way, but at the same time, it comes parcel and package with not knowing. Okay, that's the vantage point. Let's now continue with the new part. Kamuva Zohar, Parshat Noach. This is so deep. I'm not going to be able to finish it today. As is brought down in the Zohar, Parshat Noach, page 65a. This Zohar is considered one of the deepest sections of the entire Zohar. Many Rabbanim, we'll list a few. Rav Shimon Lavi, who wrote Bar Yochai, so he has a book called Ketem Paz. The Ramchal, who has a book called Adir Bamarom, and a commentary on the Zohar called Ateret Tzvi. They all say that this Zohar, as much as you try to learn it, it is super, super duper deep, that you can't fathom it. Rav Shimon Lavi writes, for example, the only way you can maybe begin to understand this Zohar word for word is if you learn from the Etz Chaim of the Arizal, from the beginning to a chapter called the Partsufim of Arikh Anpin. Okay? It's a long section, and he says maybe then you understand it. The Adir Bamarom, the Ramchal, he writes that this section is so deep. That's why Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the Zohar on this page 65a, he started off this section with prayer. It says in the Zohar, Rabbi Shimon says, "Aremit yadai bitzlotin," I raise my hands in prayer. So they all ask the commentators, why is he raising his hands in prayer? And he says it's the Adir Bamarom, because it's such a delicate topic that he's going into. He had to daven and put the davening in the Zohar itself. Then he hopes that he won't stumble in expressing these very, very delicate ideas. And the Ateret Tzvi brings from the Arizal. The Arizal says himself, if you think that there's only 4 worlds, Atzilut, Biriya, Yetzirah, Asiya, and that's it, you're wrong. Above Atzilut, he says there's tens of thousands, myriads of levels, not discussed by the Zohar, only by passing, like it's hidden. And this is one of the places. For example, the Arizal says, Parshat Noach, page 65a, is one of these places that the Zohar hints to these endless levels that exist above Atzilut. Why? So why? Because we're not allowed to, it's so hidden, you can't talk about it. Okay, the Zohar, Rabbi Shimon in his wording covers it up because it's just too much. What we can talk about, what the Kabbalah talks about, Atzilut, yeah, they explain how it works, even though we have no grasp. It talks about how Atzilut works, Bira, Yetzasiyah, but this section, it's way above, okay? And in this passage of the Zohar, it discusses what Rabbi Nachman's going to, everything that Rabbi Nachman said until now is mentioned in the Zohar, in this little passage of the Zohar. What comes out a lot is he talks about the Ratzon, Re'uta de liba, Re'uta de la'it yada. There's a term that he brings, it's called the Ratzon de la'it yada. What does that mean? The desire that's not knowable. What does that mean on a practical level? When a Jew's heart is finally opened up, that happens in life. You have times when you're davening and all of a sudden you open up, you begin to cry, and you don't even know anymore what you want. Like you're so broken from what you're going through in life, it activated an inner Ratzon, and this Ratzon opens and you forget where you're holding. You're just crying. You had reasons that you started with that made you sensitive, and then you opened up and you reach a point you don't know anymore what you want. That is, the Zohar says, the greatest level in the universe. The greatest thing you can reach in life is having Re'uta de la'it yada. You don't even know anymore what you want. You're just so emotional before Hashem. You're crying like a baby, and you don't even know what you want. You're just opened up, and you just, this feeling of Ratzon, this is the maximum a Jew can do. And it's hinted to in the Shemona Esrei, Utehi leRatzon, tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Utehi leRatzon, and should be transformed into Ratzon. All the avodah of Yisrael amecha is to be transformed to Ratzon, because that's the greatest thing. Like we say on Shabbos, the climax of the week is what? Shabbos Mincha, which is called Ra'ava de Ra'avin, Ratzon of Ratzon. The maximum thing of the week is Shabbos. The maximum part of Shabbos is Shabbos afternoon. And what's it called? When we open the Ark, Va'ani tfilati lecha Hashem et Ratzon. Et Ratzon. That's the climax of everything. What? All the days in yeshiva from Sunday to Thursday and Shabbos afternoon, where I have no idea I'm still heavy from the cholent, I don't know who I am, and that is the maximum? The answer is yes. It's a time of Et Ratzon, which means you have in your capacity to tap into an inner desire to connect to Hashem. This is the greatest gift in creation, because if you connect to this, you made it. This is the high point. So this Zohar, Parshat Noach, talks about that. Talks about the power of the Ratzon, and how he goes into, I mean, I can't go that long, it's tricky. But basically, it shows how the Keter is divided into three sections. The Keter, that we discussed before, which is like the wall, the Keter is the interface between Hashem's infinite light, Hashem himself, and the creation. The Keter is in between. The Keter has three levels. The highest is called Adam Kadmon. The middle section is called Atik, Atika, and the lowest level is called Arikh Anpin. These are three levels, like in a physical crown, on a crown on the king's head. You have the lower rim touching the head, the meat part of the crown, the actual part where the jewels are and everything, and then you have the spitzim, the kotzim. Okay, the spitzim. So the spitzim are called Adam Kadmon. These spitzim, it's funny when you look at a crown, it's like they're pointing upwards, as if to say what? We're pointing to the infinite one. It's like who's above the king? Hashem. Like actual physical, you don't make just a round crown. It's boring. What makes a crown have its splendor and it's sticking out? It's the spitzes on top of the crown. And they're pointing upwards to Hashem. That even a king, he's subordinate and he's dependent on Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? So the Zohar calls Adam Kadmon Tzach or the Tzach. Tzach is 98 times 2. So if Tzach Tzadik Chet times 2, 98 Tzach is Gematria Kotz. Kotzim are the part of the crowns that are spitzes. Okay? So Adam Kadmon is this funny term. What is Adam Kadmon? Adam Kadmon, they translate, means Hashem's initial desire in why he created mankind. Adam Kadmon, the initial kadum, the initial intent of Hashem in creating mankind, that's on the top of the crown, okay? And it's called tzachtzachot. And here Rabbeinu is saying, by this process of mitzvot b'simcha, hitting up to the Keter, being bashed back, you connect to the top of the crown. That's how you bypass it, okay? Should we go on? We want to leave it for next week? We'll leave it for next week, okay? This is very intense, but the idea is pretty clear. Rabbeinu is saying, by simple devotions, a Jew can reach the highest of levels, and reaching the highest of levels will gain him clarity in life. And such people will always have hatzlacha and siyata dishmaya. They'll never be stuck in a dead end in life. Most people in the world, the reason why they became who they became, like you see those I feel bad. You see those bums on the. I remember as a kid in Jersey City in the train station in Jersey City, you had like 500 bums on the ground, and you begin to wonder what happened from the little child who became this bum on the street, and maybe some Yidden there also, some Jews also there. What happened? Most of the people who are like they don't care about themselves anymore, it's basically they gave up. And why did they give up? Because they felt they were in a situation there was no way out. Okay, and Rabbeinu's here saying, to avoid this from happening, you gotta work on being b'simcha. Because if not, you're gonna get stuck in life at a point of no return, chas v'shalom. Doing mitzvot b'simcha, like he says, coming up, ki b'simcha tetzeu. With simcha, you'll get out. How come you'll get out from whatever you're stuck in? Because you manage to connect to the infinite light, which shines clarity. B'ezrat Hashem, we should be zocher, and we'll continue this in the next class. B'ezrat Hashem.